Good afternoon, everybody. This is the April 14th, 2021 meeting of the Babylon Town Board. For those of you who are joining us now today at 3:30, where we are live, we're streaming on our town's YouTube channel. This is a regular meeting of the Babylon Town Board. If you're interested in addressing the board, there's a link where you can sign up either for the public hearing. We only have one public hearing scheduled for today regarding the Oak Beach community water system, or if you're interested in addressing the board on the agenda is available through the link, and you can sign up to address the board on any of the items on the agenda. Or as a third portion, we have an open portion where you can address the board on any matters concerning town government or town services that are not on today's agenda or scheduled for a public hearing. We will make sure you get in. If you're watching the presentation after this date and time, you can still use the link, and you can send in a question or a comment, and one of us will get back to you either regarding matters on today's agenda or matters concerning town government and town services. With that, I'm going to ask everyone to please rise for a salute to the flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And please remain standing for a moment of silence, and I'd ask that you keep in your thoughts and prayers the brave servicemen and women serving our country, both here and abroad, as well as those in our town who are still working on behalf of all of us with the COVID-19 pandemic, and particularly those in our town who've either lost a loved one or are suffering through the effects of the COVID-19 pandemic. Please keep all of them in your thoughts and prayers. Thank you. Please be seated. Okay, would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta.
Here.
Councilman Martinez.
Here.
Councilman McSweeney, excused absence.
Yes.
Councilman Gregory.
Here.
Supervisor Schaefer.
And I am here. So we have 4 present. Councilman McSweeney's, for the board's information, is receiving the Medal of Valor Award, the highest award that's given out to a member of the FDNY by the mayor of the city of New York at a ceremony this afternoon. So we gave him an excused absence, and it's for him saving a life in the line of duty. So we are very proud of him for all of his work, and I told him that it would be an excused absence today for him to go and receive that award in person in the city. So with that, we're going to go into the public hearings, like I mentioned. If you're watching now and you want to address the board on the public hearing, click the link and sign up, and we'll get you in. We have a number of speakers signed up already, and we're going to go in the order of the speakers signing up. I'm just going to read the public hearing, which is a public hearing regarding water system improvements for the Oak Beach Community Water System pursuant to Town Law Article 12-C. The way this public hearing is going to work is we have with us today Jason Heim, who's a representative from the Suffolk County Health Department. We also have Joe Guarino, who is with our Environmental Control Department, who's been working point on this project for a number of years. Ron Klusner, who is our Chief of Staff and who's also been involved in this project as well, and Joe Pokorny, who's with the Suffolk County Water Authority, who is going to be handling this project for us. So I'm going to ask Jason for a brief presentation, and then we're going to go to the speakers. And the way the speakers will work is we give each person 3 minutes to address the board with either comments or questions that they have about this matter. And at the end of all of the speakers, we'll then go back to the presenters and we'll ask them to address the questions or comments that have come up. So when you do come on as a speaker, we ask you to state your name and address for the record and the clerk's benefit. and then you'll be able to make your presentation. So with that, I'm going to ask Jason. I know you're on, Jason Heim, with the Suffolk County Health Department. Jason, why are we here today?
Yes, thank you, Supervisor Schaefer and council members on the town of Babylon. My name is Jason Heim. I'm Principal Public Health Engineer, Chief of the Office of Water Resources in Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Why we're here today, this has been a long story. The Oak Beach Public Water Supply System, which was formed by town of Babylon after they assumed responsibility for the system out in Oak Beach. They consolidated 3 systems formerly known as McCarran, McCrawdon, and Doherty, which are regulated community water supply systems under the New York State and Suffolk County sanitary codes. The county has been working with really historically residents who were volunteering to try to operate and maintain, if you want to call it the public water supply systems out there for several years. But after a number of violations and water quality issues, we approached the town, and the town has assumed responsibility for the public water supply out in this area, and they've been working for several years. I know I've been working with Ron Klusner and Joe Guarino over these past several years, I think since around 2013, to try to resolve some of the sanitary code violations and significant deficiencies that have been identified in these public water supply systems. You guys have submitted plans for a new public water supply system that's going to resolve a lot of the all the deficiencies and correct those sanitary code violations. And we're really looking forward to this next step and hopefully being able to break ground on the new public water supply system in the near future. So that's really what we're here today.
Yep, Jason, just one final piece. If we don't, just for the board's benefit, if we don't proceed with this, what happens?
Yeah, we brought this up the last time the special taxing district was formed. The enforcement can be done by Suffolk County Department of Health Services. Under our Article 2 of our Suffolk County Sanitary Code, we can fine the town up to $2,000 per day per violation. These violations have been going on for many, many, many years, and there's a number of violations of the sanitary code. We're looking at millions and millions and millions, tens of millions of dollars in violations if the town does not move forward with the project.
Would you be able to go backward? You're mentioning violations that have existed for a while. If we didn't proceed, say if the board did not vote for this, would you be able to go back, or do you just start fining us from when we don't approve this?
I would consult our county attorney, but we notified the town formally back in August of 2013 of at least 9 violations. Would be my opinion that we could go back to at least 2013, if not, before that time.
Sure.
And pursue enforcement.
Yep. Okay. I just wanted the board to have that information because I know you've told that to me, but I wanted to put that on the record. Great. All right, Kev, we're going to go into the speakers for today.
Yep. I have the first person is Katie Eisenbegase. Sorry about that. I'm going to add her in now.
Great. Hi, Katie.
Yes, hi.
Hi, could you just state your name and address?
Sure. Katie Semegasi and 36 Fire Road, Oak Beach. I moved here 4 years ago.
Great, thank you.
Yeah, we share the well with other families, and I do not quite understand the reason of this project. I just heard there are violations, and what I don't understand is that these violations should be also for other homes in Oak Beach which are not affected by this project. And if the board approves the project, how that will affect the taxes that we pay to the town of the Babylon, because it seems like the project will cost millions of dollars, and those millions of dollars are not coming from the town of Babylon budget, will come from the homeowners, which we actually don't even own the land here. And this is something that should be covered by the budget of the town of Babylon. So
Great.
there are two
So
questions.
that's a question, sure. So
Yep.
we'll answer that at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Kev, we'll have the next speaker.
Our next speaker is Thomas Newman.
Hi, Mr. Newman, Thomas Newman.
Hello.
Hi, Tom.
Yes, hi.
Hi, just state your name and address for the record.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Schaefer. My name's Tom Lumen. I live at 4278 Oak Beach Road.
Great, thank you. Good
I'd
afternoon.
like to offer a solution to our situation down here.
Sure.
My solution is not feasible. I would expect my elected officials to come up with a better solution. Forcing 56 homeowners to foot the bill is not acceptable. The town is my landlord, and as such, should be required to supply water. Here's my solution as outlined in my email to Councilman Martinez. The projected cost of the water is outrageous, and a shovel hasn't hit the ground yet. I would like to see the town use reacquired lease monies that we pay $4,000 a year to pay for this boondoggle. 30 years I've lived here, and I've never seen a penny reinvested in our community of all the lease money we pay. While other town beaches get new playgrounds, a park doesn't even have a swing or a porta potty, and it's time to invest Oak Beach money that they collect through the lease fees back into Oak Beach. I guesstimate that the lease is about $1 million per year of found money that's just come back after paying for those snowstorms many years ago. And to close off, I'd like to know what happened that the price of this project went up $5 million. And I wish you all Godspeed in getting the money to pay for this, because I can't afford it. Nobody can afford it. My tax bill's gone up $4,000 in the last 2 years. And now before a shovel hits the ground, you want me to come up with another $2,500. Folks, I'm tapped out. You get all my money. I live on Social Security, and I paid for my house, and I want to live in it. If you take this water and add this onto the tax bill, I have a house that the taxes are so high, I won't be able to sell it. And on that note, I thank you for your listening, and hopefully you guys come up with something, because there's a lot of money floating around. I hear trillions of dollars from Biden. And, the town, this lease money is found money. Let's use it in Oak Beach.
Great.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Mr. Newman. Okay, Kev, next speaker.
Next speaker is Catherine Zeller, joining now.
Hi, Catherine.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Just state your
Hi.
name. Just state your name and address for the record.
Hi, Catherine Zeller, 82 Oak Beach Road. Basically anything I could or would say is going to be covered even in the last two people that spoke. So I'm not gonna waste any more time and let everybody else sort of get in with this, but not feasible, not possible, not sustainable. Again, the leases have been raised significantly over the last couple of years. It's time to put that money back in. So
Right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next speaker, Kev.
Adding our next speaker now. I'm going to stop trying to pronounce names.
Who's that, Lorraine?
Hello.
Hi, Lorraine.
I'm sorry, I just got dropped off quickly.
Oh, well, you're here now, so just state your name and address for the record.
Thank you. It's Lorraine Greenwald. I live at 37 Fire Road. And I thank you all for giving us the time to speak today. I am just underscoring what everyone has said. This is not a feasible financial burden that the homeowners, these 56 homeowners, can take on. We pay land lease. My taxes went up in just the past 3 years. They went up $4,000. The lease payment is $4,000 a year, plus another $2,500 per year in this infrastructure fee. The thing that I am very concerned about is, again, I work for the state. I'm a professor and I'm on a fixed salary. My husband is retired on a fixed Social Security income. We've lived on Long Island our whole lives, and this is just undue hardship, financial hardship for us to stay here at this. Why could we not have as a solution permits granted to get these 56 people off of the 3 or 4 wells and have us dig our own wells so that we would have within compliance of the health code of 5 or fewer people on the well. That is critical. We would all be using the same aquifer. We all have pumps and filter systems in our homes already. It would be at a fraction of the cost of an $8 million infrastructure, and then quote unquote unlimited maintenance. This is just, again, undue financial hardship on your taxpayers, on your homeowners, your people that have been here for all of our lives. I really feel that this has not been totally thought through, and I would like to see a true community solution to this. We could ask for grants. We could ask for funds from the federal government, from the state government, from the town government. There's so many grants that should be available for something like this. I think this would really just create such a hardship for these families, for these working families here on Long Island.
Great, thank you. We'll get those questions answered at the end.
Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Next speaker.
And your next speaker, Tom Jones.
Tom, you there? Tom Jones?
On. I got you.
Yes, you do, Tom. Just state your name and address for the record.
Tom Jones, 37 Fire Road. You just talked to my lovely wife.
Oh, very good.
All right. Now, she covered most of what I had to say. And again, I want to thank you guys for listening.
Yes.
Now, I think if everybody sits down and looks at this, this is not a water problem. This is a political problem. If this was a water problem, why are you only picking 50 houses down here instead of the whole 200? Everybody down here is drinking the same water. If this was a water problem, everybody would have to be hooked up to whatever system you're thinking about. And if this was such a big problem, why is it taking 10 years? If you're thinking about it, if everybody down there thought that the water here was so bad and there was so many violations and stuff, how can it take the town or the state 10 years before they put a shovel in the water? That's like saying you guys can drink whatever water polluted water you got, which is not. Nobody's ever gotten sick down here that I can recall. And I've been down here, and I'm a newcomer. We've only been down here about 16 or 18 years, but we know people who have grown up down here, and nobody has ever gotten sick. And like my wife said, there has to be some money in a program or a project that the federal government or the state government or the town has got. $8 to $10 million, and I'm saying 10 because they haven't put the shovel in the ground yet. $10 million to the state budget or the federal budget for something like this is a rounding off error. They're talking about billions of dollars. 8 to 10 million is nothing. And the only other thing I had to ask you was, this is kind of funny. Would we be sitting here if there was one well that had 10 people on it? would you be building an $8 million, water treatment plant for 10 people? Because it's more than the 5 people that some politician, how many years ago, came up with and said any more than 5 people on a well is going to be run by the town. We're going to be able to pay. We're going to charge them and tax them and do whatever we have to do. Anyway, I'm just asking, would we be here today if there was one well with 10 people on it?
Okay, we'll ask that question at the end.
Thanks. Hey, guys, thanks for listening. And I know that you guys are smart enough to find the money someplace, because there's plenty of money out there. The state's budget is 200 and something billion dollars. Okay, I've had enough. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you. And we'll be back to you shortly after we finish the speakers.
Thanks, Mr. Schaefer. Take care.
Thank you. You too.
Okay, bye-bye.
Kev, the next speaker.
Adding Molly Fitzgerald.
Okay.
Oh, this is Molly, babe.
Is Molly on? Molly? I see Molly's name, Molly Fitzgerald. You could you unmute yourself? Molly?
Okay, am I
there
unmuted now?
Yes, there you are.
Okay, thank you.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Could you just state your name and address?
Molly Fitzgerald, 33 Fire Road.
Great, thank you.
Okay. Again, I echo what everybody else is saying in terms of, the cost of this project. But I don't know, maybe I've been on the meeting since the beginning, and I haven't heard anybody detail the project at all and the costs. The only thing I'm aware of is what I read in the Newsday article.
Yeah, which was all wrong, but we're gonna do that at the end. I just want to get all the questions together so then we can have them make their presentation.
Okay, well then,
So
what
you-
I hope to get from you then is a complete breakdown of what these costs are going to be. I know the Newsday article indicated paying off a 30-year bond, that's $2,500, and a $20 quarterly fee, I think, for water. And then the increasing of the general town tax plus $1.8 million bond or grant. Okay.
Yeah, don't pay attention to Newsday. Shock of all shocks, they weren't correct. So
All right. Well, I'd like to know because again,
yeah, we're gonna go through that at the end. So that's
right.
the only question is in terms of the breakdown for the project.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you, Molly.
Thank you for including us.
You're welcome. Okay, our next speaker.
Okay, adding in Jocelyn Chait.
Hi, Jocelyn. You could there you go.
Hi.
Hello, could you just state your name and address?
Hi, my name's Jocelyn Chyatt. I'm at 23 Oak Beach Road, and we've been there for quite a few years, about 25 years. I had a question regarding the assessment, the large assessment that we received in our tax bill this year, which was for the water system. And I wanted an explanation of why we had this assessment when there's nothing in the ground yet. What are we paying for with this? And it seems like no details have, as Molly just raised, no details have come up yet about, the actual system and how it's going to operate and the finances of it. So if that could be,
We'll ask them to address
would be
that.
great.
Yep, we'll ask them to address that. Did you have any other questions?
No, I think that's it. I mean, I would raise the same issues as have been raised before in terms of the hardship placed on people who've been here for a very long time. But also, a point raised by Tom about the lease rent. We pay a significant amount in lease rent and we don't really see anything in return for that. So And I'm sure that'll be answered as well. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay.
Next speaker, Kev.
Okay, I'm adding in Laurel Mooney now.
Hey, Laurel. Laurel? Laurel Mooney.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can. There you go. How are you, Laurel?
Good, good.
Good,
Thank
good.
you.
Yeah, just state your name and address for the record.
Okay. This is Laurel Mooney. My address is 77A Oak Beach Road, Oak Beach, New York.
Great.
I just wanted to ask the board, I guess pretty much everyone has asked the main questions, but we wanted to ask if there was, I guess, how the cost will be calculated to the residents, and if there will be some sort of cap put in place at some point, based on whatever the calculation is to the cost of the residents. And I guess just an overall question about who will be maintaining the project. I think, like someone mentioned in Newsday, it said Suffolk County Water Authority, and if they will be, I guess, the ones installing the system and then maintaining it.
Okay, great. Yep, we'll get those questions answered.
Thank you very much.
All right, thank you, Laurel.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Next speaker, Kev.
Adding in Tara Moran.
Good afternoon, Tara.
Hi, how are you?
Hi, Tara. How are you? Just state your name and address for the record.
Tara Moran, 79 Oak Beach Road, Oak Beach.
Great. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Supervisor Schaefer, council members, and staff. I've lived in the Oak Beach community since 2014. And first, I want to thank you and acknowledge the stability you have provided to the function of the local water system in recent years. Many of the stressful water issues that we encountered when we first moved to Oak Beach have improved since the town of Babylon took over ownership of the system. My concerns with the system that is proposed and designed, plans dated April 2019, is not with the goal you're trying to achieve, which is clean potable water for our community. My concern, as many have mentioned today, is with the high cost and how it will impact my family and our surrounding neighbors. The ability to pay these high costs, especially when they're still unknown, has us really nervous about our ability to remain in this community that we've grown to love. We just had a significant increase on our tax bill this year, and that was on top of an increase to the lease payment as well. My husband and I have a young daughter who also loves her home and neighborhood, and the significant increase in annual costs will really be a challenge for our family. We would like to have a better understanding of what the cost impact will be to each home and how that cost will be distributed. We are also concerned with the unknown operation and maintenance costs, in addition to the cost to build the system that will be shared by the residents. I am also concerned with the location of the treatment facility, as this building will be very close to the brand new community center. I have a few questions that I'm just going to list for you. I was wondering if the plans have been reviewed by any third-party experts to help consider any cost-saving measures with the current design. Have any alternative designs been considered that may result in lower costs? What is the reason for the large increase in costs since the earlier estimates? How have the costs to the residents been calculated? And is there any further information that could be shared with the community? Could the annual fee to the residents to pay for the cost of the system be spread out over a longer period of time to reduce the annual costs to the residents? How will increased water loads be reviewed by the town to ensure that the new system can continue to accommodate the community that it's planned for? If the test well yields unexpected results, how will the changes to the design and overall costs be covered? And my last question is about additional grant funding and if any additional funding has been sought, and will future grant applications be submitted if new funding opportunities arise. This may be an unusual offer, but I want to come here today with more than questions and concerns. I do have many years of experience with successful grant writing and would be happy to volunteer my time to support your great team at the town of Babylon if the opportunity presented itself and if that could help in some way. Thank you very much for your time, consideration, and review of these matters.
Great, and I appreciate that offer, Tara. Thank you. Okay, next speaker.
Heading Donald Galestino.
Hey, Donald.
Hey, sorry about that, everyone.
No worries. Just state your name and address for the record.
Yeah, Don Gelastino, 117 Savannah Walk. I gotta say, Tara really nailed everything. I have nothing else. I would have dropped off or tried to withdraw.
Ditto for Tara.
100%.
I got it. We'll get those questions answered at the end.
Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Thank you.
Okay. Kev, next speaker. We have Jim Shappert.
Yes, hello, I'm here.
Hey, how are you, Jim?
Okay, very good. How are you?
Good, good. Just state your name and address for the record.
Sure, thank you. It's James Shappert at 107 Oak Beach Road.
Great, thanks.
All right, thanks so much. I appreciate the opportunity to speak today, and I'll apologize in advance if I may go a little long here, but I have been waiting a long time to ask some of these questions, so I'll dive right in.
Yeah, that's okay.
Thanks so much. The first thing I would like to talk about, of course, is costs. And I was wondering if the town might be able to estimate the amount that would be levied on our tax bill under a line item titled Oak Beach Water District once the system is built. Let's say plus or minus $500. We know it was $1,200 for work done to advance, but once the system's built, what is it really going to be? With a starting point of $2,500 in loans, with usage rates equivalent to the county average being expected, on top of that, daily maintenance, repairs, filter replacements, testing. Would it be fair to say that we should prepare ourselves now to see a $4,000 line item on our tax bill for water? The average water bill in Suffolk County is $355 annually. What percentage above that would be considered reasonable? Would you say 200% above that would be considered reasonable? How about 400% above that? Would that be considered reasonable? Would a very, very likely bill of $4,000, the number, and I had to crunch it, but the number is 1,100% above the Suffolk County average. I don't find that to be practical. I can't imagine anybody sees that to be feasible. It's certainly not fair. It's not equitable. And I don't think it's necessary. On the point of necessary, I wanted to talk quickly about options. It's my understanding, as stated in the beginning, that the town of Babylon didn't enter into this project voluntarily. And my sympathy goes out. A lot of work has been done, but at the end of the day, the mandate or the regulation, if you will, has come down from the Department of Health. I'm curious if the Department of Health mandated a new public water system to build a $9 million system. In other words, were they open to other solutions? Some have been mentioned, but what if we terminated all 3 public wells? There would be no longer any public wells on Oak Beach if they were terminated. And then those 56 homes could divide up into groups of 4 and dig new wells. And everybody on Oak Beach would be on private wells. Right now, 120 homes are on private wells, 56 are on public. That would seem to be one option. I know there's a law that states you're not allowed to come off of a public well. And I think that's what is holding up perhaps the solution of allowing these 56 to break into group of 4s and be on private systems like everybody else. And of course, with Department of Health's guidance in terms of setbacks from septic systems. A new well costs about $20,000 to dig. Divided by 4 would be about $5,000 per home. We're pretty close to what 1 year of this new system may cost, maybe 5 years down the road as expenses increase. As I said, we're starting out with $2,500 just in loans, without the maintenance, without the usage, without the testing, without the repairs. I understand that the town successfully petitioned New York State for a variance to allow a new well to be dug directly across the street from the community center to feed the proposed system. New York State said yes, they were allowed to build a well on the north side of Oak Beach Road because that was the only place that would be far enough from the septic system on the community center property. Why don't we allow these 3 wells to shut down and rebuild on the north side of Oak Beach Road, away from septic systems? For the record, the public wells in question are currently tested on a monthly basis. I believe that's the reason that E. coli was found in those systems so many years ago, because they were tested and the system worked. The red flag went up. There's a problem with the water. We knew, we fixed it. What if that monthly testing was done every week? Wouldn't that be more cost effective? In 2015, the town of Babylon sent a letter stating that the cost of this project would be $2.2 million. In 2017, we got another letter saying it would be $3.5 million. A couple of weeks ago, we got a letter saying it's going to be $8.8 million. And then in the town resolution, there's a line that says the levy of taxes can increase without limit. I wonder what it's going to cost in 10 years from today. Would anybody listening right now, if you were in our position, in my position, which is a hardworking teacher who has a very definite limit on my finances, would you feel comfortable reading a document that says that this can increase without limit with a starting point of $4,000 per year? Again, 1,100% above the Suffolk County average. It took 10 years to try and make this system work, to try and bring the cost down. And Joe Guarino, you have done an amazing job and hard work. A 154-page report was created on this system. What if we spent that much money and wrote 154 pages worth of alternative options to a $9 million system to be paid for by 56 homes? The water system as proposed will effectively force my family off of Oak Beach. Not only did my taxes go up last year, the $1,200 water system line item was added, the leases went up last year, my flood insurance went up last year, my homeowner's insurance went up last year. There is no reason to believe that this water system is not going to get continually expensive, starting at $4,000 a year for water. And as a line item on our tax bills, I can't think of who is paying for their water on their tax bills. And what happens if a family decides, I don't have $4,000 this year for water? Do you get a lien on your home because you didn't pay your taxes? My wife and I have lived here for 20 years. We've been active members of this community. To build this massive structure, it happens to be right next to my home. And next to, as Tara mentioned, a recently restored historic United States Life-Saving Service building that is currently surrounded with beautiful and serene sand and dunes and beach grass. It looks exactly like it did in 1940. And now you want to put a mechanical struck building that's 40 feet long to hold tanks and pumps and whirling mechanical equipment for 56 homes, $9 million. This will lower my property value. Who wants to look at it? Who wants to hear it in the middle of the night? While adding $4,000 to my taxes. There's simply too much wrong with this proposed plan to be the right thing to do. Why did it take 10 years? Because it can't be done. Not feasibly. Joe, I know you tried. How many times did we go back to the drawing board because the number they gave us was astronomical. 1,100% above the Suffolk County average remains astronomical. And the consequences to people on fixed incomes here is great. I would like you all to imagine that your taxes go up next year, $4,000 in 1 year. Some hard decisions are going to have to be made here at Oak Beach because of water. Those are all my comments, and I appreciate the time.
Great. Thank you, Jim. We'll answer, we'll go back to the questions at the end. Okay, next speaker.
I don't believe we have any other speakers. If anybody else is in the room had not spoken, click the raise hand button, but I'm looking over, I believe we had everybody join.
Yeah, I'm not showing anybody else.
Oh, Laurel, did Laurel Mooney end up getting on earlier?
Yeah, she did.
She did, okay.
Yep. But I'm not showing, oh, they're showing one raised hand.
Who's Laurel Mooney?
Oh, Laurel's raising her hand right now. Laurel, are you still on? Oh, and Molly Fitzgerald is raising her hand.
You want me to add in Laurel and see?
Yeah, see what if that's accurate. Laurel, are you back on? Laurel?
Mr. Schaefer, can you hear me now?
Hey, yes, yep.
I just, one question I thought of. I want to know if the new water system could facilitate putting in fire hydrants, if that is a possibility, because I believe that would help with some of our homeowners' insurance costs.
Sure, that's a good question.
That's
Okay,
all.
and Molly, Kevin,
Molly.
and in Molly, she might have a question. Molly, are you there? Hey, Molly? Molly, you have to unmute. Let's see, Molly, are you there?
Is all thing I got it.
Hey, Molly.
Yes, it took a while. It took a while for the unmute to come up.
That's okay.
Okay,
Yeah,
actually,
question?
it's my sister Peggy who's on the list who didn't have an opportunity to speak.
Oh, is she there?
Yes, she is. She's right
I'm
here.
right here.
Oh, good. Peggy, just state your name and address for the record.
Peggy Fitzgerald, 19 Oak Beach Road.
Okay. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I was just, kind of a little questioning why the meeting is being conducted this way. Why the proposal wasn't put first? So then we can ask questions about it. So we have more facts to,
well, we're going to
discuss.
We're getting all the questions that you have, so then we can make the presentation of what the facts are.
All right, and this is Molly. Do we have an opportunity to ask further questions after your presentation?
Sure.
Okay.
Yep. But I wanted to get all the questions out first.
All right. Well, here's another question too. Go ahead, Peg.
Your two wells that are there are supposedly going to be abandoned. Would they still remain operational and available for non-drinking water needs, such as watering gardens, washing outside furniture, boats, etc., if they're no longer part of the Oak Beach water system?
Sure. We'll ask that question.
And should be returned to the owners?
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Okay. And now Jocelyn Chait has a raised hand.
Yep, adding her now.
A quick question,
Yes.
and you may be addressing it in the presentation on the proposal, but the water coming from the well that's being proposed presumably would come from the same aquifers we're receiving water from now, I would imagine. What is the redundancy, a plan for redundancy in the proposal? I mean, if that well goes out, is there any possibility of still accessing water, or does it mean that all the houses that are on that well don't get any water?
I'm sorry, went in and out there. Could you just state the question again?
What is the plan for redundancy if there's only one well? If that well goes out, does that mean that every house that's connected to that well doesn't get any water? Okay.
Yep, we'll ask them that question. Sure.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Okay, so we don't have any other speakers?
No, not for this
I don't
public
see
hearing.
any other hands raised. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, so let's go back to, I'm gonna run through, I think I got every question down, so I'm gonna run through them. And I guess we'll go through the general questions. So if we can put up the budget for the project, that question was asked several times. And while we're putting up the budget for the project, so Joe, I guess you can walk us through.
Record this. What?
Oh,
It's
Molly,
available
Molly,
later.
Molly, could you mute? Kev, you want to put her back into the?
Yep, done.
Yep. Great. Okay, and I think Dan, you were going to put up the numbers. Okay, so Joe, do you want to walk us through this? Joe Guarino?
Sure, yes.
Yep.
The latest cost we have, based upon the bids received, was an $8.8 million that would include everything. That would include the design, the permitting, and the construction of the water treatment plant, the wells, and the distribution system.
Okay,
There
so
was just
can I just stop you there for a second, Joe?
Sure.
Just to ask the other question. So I think Jim outlined that in 2015, residents were told it would cost 2.2 million. In 17, it was 3.5, and now 21, I guess, the latest based on the bids is 8.8. Is there an explanation for the?
Well, the explanation is numerous. First, you have the time. Prices for infrastructure over 10 years, the numbers do go up considerably. We saw a considerable increase in just a 2-year gap in getting, because we bid this out twice.
So when was it bid?
Originally, I believe it was bid 2 years back. That would make it 2018.
2018?
And then we rebid it in 2019, 2020, somewhere around there. We bid it differently.
Which is the current figure?
We broke it up. I'm sorry?
Which is the current figure?
Yes.
And what was the 15 and 17 figures based on of 2.2 and 3.5?
Well, the project has changed significantly. When we started this, it wasn't like buying a used car. We didn't, kick the tires and have a mechanic take a look at it. We were told by the county and state health departments, you need to take this thing over and you need to correct the deficiencies. So we inherited the 3 systems, sight unseen. We took them based on how they were described, that we had 3 functional systems, and the original proposal was designed using the 3 wells, adding a pump to them and distributing the water over to a new water treatment plant, and then through a distribution system to the new homes. Once we had an engineer take a look at what we had, we were told originally that 2 of the 3 wells, the Doherty and the McCroden, were useless for the purpose that we were going to use them, that it would cost more money to bring electricity to them than to rebuild with a new modern well. So we were going to build 1 new well and use the McCarran for the backup. The McCarran well, about 2 years back, had a significant incident where people on the far end of the distribution stopped receiving water. We had to spend a significant sum of money to try to correct that. And I believe it has been corrected. However, we were advised by, I believe we used Delta Well, that the well had significantly less, was rating for water than what we thought it would have. And our engineer took a look at the numbers and had the opinion that the McCarran well would no longer serve adequately as our backup well. So now we needed 2 wells. Instead of 0, now we're going to 2. To locate the well, we looked throughout, we own the land. We looked throughout the community to locate the well. We could not find a location that would satisfactorily meet the setbacks required to locate a public well system. So what we had to do was look up gradient of all the septic systems that are in the community. And the only land up gradient of that community is owned by New York State Parks. We had to go to New York State Parks, initiate an easement process to locate a well building north of Oak Beach Road, which we did. Took a lot of time, took a bunch of money. We needed surveys. We needed, it took a few tens of thousands of dollars. Those are just off the top of the head. What was the causes for the increase in the price of the system? Essentially, it comes down to, we went from a repair and upgrade of the system in 2013 to a complete rebuild of the system in 2017, 2018. So nothing is being reused. Everything is going to be replaced with a modern system. I believe the wells will be a bit deeper than what the wells are now. The new wells will be pumped. All these structures will be built to flood code. There'll be emergency generators. There will be water 24/7. You're not going to have outages anymore, and you're going to have a water system that's maintained by the Suffolk County Water Authority, who are the authority or experts in doing such a thing. And they will operate, maintain, and fix the system once it's operational. As just one last point, the bids are actually more than the number of 8.8. When we received that second round of bids, we put our heads together and we reapproached Suffolk County Water Authority. There were preliminary discussions way back at the beginning. The result of that was that they decided that they would assist with this because they felt they could do it for cheaper. They gave us a proposal, and we're going to only be using one of the contracts we bid out for the construction of the water treatment plant building, and the county will do the rest, resulting in a savings of about $400,000 over the cost of the project.
Okay, Joe, so do you want to walk through the figures that are on the sheet here?
Sure.
And then
So we have a total cost of 8.8. We wrote a grant, and we received, it was a $1.8 million grant. It also included a $1.2 million loan. However, it was determined that we probably could finance it at an equivalent or better rate. So we only took the state grant for 1.8 million. So if you subtract the 8.8 minus the 1.8, that gives you 7 million. An estimate to the debt service, we use 2% over 30 years would be 4.2 million. So the total cost of the 7 million plus the 4.2 is 11.2 million. And if you do the math, that comes out to about $6,600 per property for 30 years. It was determined that that cost was not something that was feasible. The town board and the supervisor, everybody, they all got together and advised us that the town would look to subsidize that cost and cap the cost to each homeowner at $2,500. If you do the math, the town would be paying the entire $7 million, and the cost.
When you say the town, that 7 million is coming out of the town budget.
I believe that's how it was explained to me. Correct.
Well, I'm asking, Ron. Ron, you're muted.
Yes, the 7 million would be bonded by the town. We don't know if it's 2% until it goes to market. Hopefully it'll be less than that because of our very great bond rating. But that will equate to at least 4.2 million over the 30-year period.
Right, well, we have a AAA bond rating, so we're able to borrow money at a cheaper rate. And that is the town is borrowing that 7 million, and the town's general fund taxpayers will be paying that over the course of the life of the bond.
Correct, compared to the residents at Oak Beach paying 4.2 million of the total of 11.
Right, right. So there's a state commitment of 1.8, and there's a general fund town commitment of all the town's residents of 7 million. And
Right.
the remaining balance was where you got the 2,500. And Joe, you mentioned the word cap because one of the questions was, would a cap be put in place? So this contemplates that $2,500 figure would be capped at 2,500, could only potentially go down based on any additional grant money or any additional monies that we get toward this project.
That's correct.
That can't go up.
That's how, yes, that's what was explained to me, that it would be a cap.
Right, but it's written that way, that would be a cap. Again, I'm only asking you because if the board votes on this, the board wants to know what they're voting on.
Yes.
And that was one of the questions that one of the residents asked.
If the board votes for the proposal that we have laid out in this outline, the cap would be $2,500.
Okay.
Joe, one question. I'm sorry, Supervisor. Go ahead.
No, Joe, I'm sorry.
I believe there's another scenario where the cost per resident could go down, and that's if other people in Oak Beach want to tie into the system. Is that correct, Joe?
Yes. The way we did the math is we had 56 homes, so we divide the total owed by 56. So everybody received a map of the proposed system. We added a section called eligible parcels. The eligible parcels are parcels that have the infrastructure, meaning the distribution system, in front of their homes. So if they chose to join the system, they would be permitted to. And simple math, if we keep adding to the number of people contributing, the cost would go down.
And Joe Guarino, how many potential homes does that total?
That would be 22 additional homes.
22 additional, right. And I don't know if you can answer this or maybe this has to be for Jason. But one of the early questions was, why only 56 homes? Why not all 200 homes on Oak Beach?
I could give what was relayed to me, and then maybe we could buzz in Jason.
Yeah, Jason, are you on?
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Yep, so Jason, did you hear the question? It was, why only these 56 homes? Why not all 200 homes on Oak Beach?
Sure. So Suffolk County Department of Health Services is, enforcing the New York State Sanitary Code and the Suffolk County Sanitary Code. We define the, formerly known as McCarran, McCrodden, and Doherty systems as community water supply, public water supply systems. The definition of a public water supply system under those sanitary codes is, serving a water supply system serving at least 5 service connections, a service connection being a home or business. So in this case, McCarran, McCrodden, and Doherty would all be regulated public water supply systems over the years.
So Jason,
yes.
Let me ask you the question, which I thought was a terrific question. I think it came from Jim Shepard. So why not allow these 56 homes to abandon these wells, break into groups of 4, dig new wells, and start their own little systems?
Okay. Let me just finish that answer about the other community members in this area. So the other community members are not under regulation by us right now because they're considered private well owners. We
Because
did
they're
an
not
assessment
they're not five or more on one well.
based on information we received, walking through the community, speaking to community members, working with the town and other residents. We had not received any information or confirmed any other location in this area that should be regulated as a public water supply system. So there are many other private wells.
So anyone who's on a well with 4 or less is considered a private system or a private well?
Correct.
And anyone 5 or more, which is why we're talking about these 56 homes or properties, is because there are 5 or more on a well.
Yes.
So now to the question, what if these 56 properties said, okay, we get it. We understand what the county health department has said, and we're going to break into groups of 4 and like I think Jim said, I don't know, again, I remember, I thought he said $5,000 to dig a well or whatever it is, but it's much less expensive, and then it would bring them into compliance.
Yes, that option was evaluated by the town. The town did approach us with that option very early on in the discussions with some of the volunteer representatives from the community. We looked at the sanitary code, our Suffolk County Sanitary Code, the policy of which states that we're promoting the extension and connection of residents to public water supply for public health protection reasons. Installation of a private well would require approval from the Suffolk County Department of Health Services. As part of that review process, a resident would have to apply to disconnect from a community water supply system, which is essentially a violation of our Suffolk County Sanitary Code. That application would be rejected, and then the resident could, as I think I've previously discussed with some of the residents out there, that resident could go before our board of review, make their case, but in my opinion, I think the board of review would be hard pressed to, consider that application for a variance from the sanitary code, especially considering, a regulated public water supply would be available that complies with the drinking water standards post-construction, and the private wells are unlikely to meet the necessary separation distances as required by our standards.
Okay, so let me go back. So there are private wells out there that don't meet the requirement that they're considered public systems because they have 5 or less, or maybe each property has its own individual well. I don't know, but we have these 56. And so you just said that there's a section of the Suffolk County Code that says that you can't disconnect from a public system. And if you do, you would have to apply for a permit. Is that what you said, Jason?
Yes.
So there's a section of the code. What is that? What is that section of the code?
There's several sections in here related to this. The one I'm looking at right now is Suffolk County Sanitary Code, Article 4, Section 760-408.
Okay, could you send those on to Joe Wilson and Joe Guarino?
I don't know if I have Mr. Wilson's email address.
Or send them to Joe Guarino. That's good.
I can certainly do that. Is it possible to do that tomorrow?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, yeah, because we're not taking any action today on this, so we're in the public hearing process. So I think that would be helpful. I think the board would like to further explore that because that kind of jumped out at me as a fine point, and I want to explore that a little further. Let me get to some other questions. Let's see. Yeah, I think Jim asked about, and I think you guys explained that there were several other options explored over the time period that you've been looking at this, that Department of Health was open to other solutions, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
over the time period that we've been involved here. Let's see. Budget, right. Okay, let me just ask, this isn't for you, Jason. This is for our people. The assessment that appeared on the bill for this year, what was that for? I don't know if Joe or Ron can answer that.
Yeah, I could answer that.
Yeah, Joe.
That assessment paid for basically the operation and maintenance of the system. Prior to us taking over the 3 systems, we were advised that a volunteer would every year go around and collect money for lab analysis and for maintenance, because they were required to sample monthly for bacteria and that sort of thing. And we were advised that it was between $400 and $500 that people would have to cough up each year for the maintenance. We used Maximum Environmental Services. That's the same firm that was being used by the residents. Professional Services Committee granted them the contract. And the assessment they received this year was for the amount spent since we took the system over, which would encompass 3 years.
3 years. Okay, so you'd be able to send the board the info on the 3 years worth of, you said, testing services?
Yes, we've tested, and it's not just the testing, it's also pays for if there's any repairs necessary.
Right. So there were operations and maintenance charges over 3 years that we've been paying for, that we basically back billed them for in the form of this assessment that was on the bill. Because the question was, what was that assessment for?
That's what it was for. And it came out to about $400 per year.
Per year. And so you can send us that information, so we can make it available to the residents who've spoken today.
Okay.
Great. Who will maintain, so if we do go ahead with this project, Suffolk County Water, so Joe is on here. Everyone's named Joe today. Joe is on here. And Suffolk County Water has graciously stepped in with their expertise, and as Joe Guarino mentioned, brought down the overall cost of the project, but now will help us with building it out if we go forward, and I'm assuming maintaining it, Joe?
Yes.
Right. So I'm sorry, which Joe?
Joe P.
Yeah. So so that was the intent. Supervisor Schaefer was to assist with the construction, provide our expertise in project management and engineering, and assist with the completion of the project. And then once that is done and the system is a legitimate drinking water system, the Suffolk County Water Authority then would enter into an agreement with the town of Babylon, preferably before we operate the system, but we would enter into an agreement with the town of Babylon to operate the system for, let's say, 40 years, similar to the way we operate your former East Farmingdale Water District. The Water Authority would basically adopt these 56 customers as their own. They would be billed as if they were Suffolk County Water customers. And the Suffolk County Water Authority customer system, through the charges, are normal charges, the same charges that we charge people on the mainland for drinking water. That would pay for the operation and maintenance of the system. So basically, the people's payments of their water bills will sustain the operation and maintenance of the system through that 40-year agreement.
But the Suffolk County Water Authority would be maintaining the infrastructure.
That's correct. We would maintain all aspects of the infrastructure, the wells, the pumps, the treatment system, and the distribution system.
Great.
We would also handle the billing of the customers and any customer service. Basically, they would look like a customer on the mainland.
Got it. Okay. Joe G. Jocelyn asked if included in the when you send us the info about the operation and maintenance costs and the charges, could they also see the results of the testing for the past 3 years?
Yeah, I have all the results on my laptop. I can print them out and provide to whoever would like to see them.
Okay, great. The question was another question was the location of the treatment facility, which is near the new community center.
Yes,
So
it would be next door to it.
next door to it, and that was selected because,
It's the only available land that was large enough.
okay, so that was the only site that met what was necessary to build the treatment plant.
That's correct.
Okay. Then a bunch of questions. Let me go through these questions, and I hope I got them all. I think they were from Tara. Were the plans and the final project that we came up with reviewed by third-party experts? I assume we had outside engineer involved.
The plans were derived by H2M Engineering,
Okay.
and the plans were forwarded to the Suffolk County Department of Health Services, New York State Department of Health, and Environmental Facilities Corp. to review.
And just explain what Environmental Facilities Corp. is, Joe.
Sure. They are a state agency that is providing the $1.8 million grant.
Got it. So they do financing of these types of projects.
Yeah, it's a DWSRF, Drinking Water State Revolving Fund.
Got it. Okay, so the engineer designed it outside of us, and then those three agencies, outside agencies, reviewed it.
Correct.
Were there, and I think we may have answered this, but were there alternate designs discussed in order to lower the costs? I guess, was this the design that came in the lowest of what has to be done here?
Well, the design, we paid H2M to design it. We didn't have three companies design three different systems. When it comes down to it, it's a building with treatment machinery inside of it, some piping, and a well. So there weren't competing designs. H2M they were procured as the engineer that came in with the cheapest price with experience. They were selected and they designed the system.
But I guess the question is there any way to, any other way to do this is there another design way to do this in a cheaper way?
Well, we looked at a couple of options way back at the beginning. Option one was what Jason explained before, was everyone doing their own well as private. We also looked at possibly running a water main from Captree down to the community. There were numerous reasons that wouldn't work. One was cost, another was the amount of water that would pass through was not sufficient to go that distance. So yeah, we did look at alternative ways of providing water to the community.
Okay. And you already outlined how the cost to the residents have been calculated in the original information sheet. The annual fee, the question was, could that be spread out even over further time? So I guess the 2,500, if I remember correctly, is being spread out in conformance with the borrowing that the town would be doing over a 30-year period.
Correct.
So that 2,500 must be paid each year in order to keep up with what the bond repayment, the debt service on the bonds is.
Correct.
Yes.
Okay. And then, yes, Tara, I'm going to talk to you further about, because Tara asked about, and she has experience in grant writing. So we're going to talk to her further because we have learned that there could be potentially another grant available that we would love to have your input on, that we're working on currently. Jess, in terms of, I guess, Jim had a question. The $4,000 line item on the tax bill for water is 1,100% above Suffolk County water. So Joe P., you expect the bills that these residents would pay for the water, the service of the water that, say, like I pay on the mainland, or would be in line with that, it's that the capital costs, they're being asked to pay the capital costs. So that's why the water bill is 1,100% above the Suffolk County water. You don't expect them to be paying more in water costs than we pay on the mainland.
No, no, the rate is the same as the people on the mainland.
Right.
The variable in all of this is how much water do the people in Oak Beach use compared to a typical customer on the mainland. I can't say for absolute sure, but I'm willing to guess that the average customer in Oak Beach is going to use less water. Right. Because you do not have the big lawns that you have upland.
Yep.
I think you have a lot of homes that are somewhat seasonal or maybe weekend homes. I know there are a lot of people that do live there full time, but I think just by looking at the homes and the nature of the area and comparing that with even some of our Fire Island areas that we serve, the water consumption per capita or per home is less. So I would expect the water bills to be less than the average bill on the mainland.
But in Jim's point, the bulk of the cost of the increase that he's recognizing is for the capital cost.
The capital portion, right?
Yep. I think we answered this already, but the Department of Health mandated it. Were they open to other solutions? And we've gone through the timeline on that. I've asked about the breaking up into groups of 4. There was a question about, I guess this may be for Jason, testing done. Yep, testing done every week. Could this just be dealt with for testing that would be done every week?
I don't remember the specific comment, but I think it related to installation of private wells. And, you know, right now the public water supply systems are being tested at least monthly. Could they install private wells and just test those weekly? No.
Right. Okay. So that I figured that would be the answer, but that's a no. Okay. Another question just coming up. Will we have individual water meters for operations and maintenance? Some homes may use significantly less water than others, particularly seasonal and weekend users. So I assume that if this system is put in place, that each home would be billed based on its own consumption.
That's correct, Richard. Yep.
Right. Okay. Good question that came in, that would the new water system allow for fire hydrants, which is a big concern out at the beach. So would that be Joe P?
Yeah, so unfortunately, the current design does not include fire hydrants, and fire hydrants would require a much more robust and larger capacity water system behind them in order to provide fire protection. So the existing, or the system, the way it's designed right now, has a 300 gallon a minute well, and it has a pair of booster pumps. I think the total rating of them is about 300 gallons a minute also. So there are not fire hydrants as part of the system.
Okay.
If I could add a little bit to that.
Joe, yep, Joe G.
Yeah, I mean, this was designed, we tried to do the minimum that we had to do, knowing cost is an issue. And, you know, a complete community system that included fire wells or fire hydrants was looked at in the early 2000s, and that proposal was soundly rejected.
Okay. I figured it would be expense. Question would be, will it become a lien on the property if they don't pay the water bill? I think I heard the question correctly. I guess the assessment is put on the tax bill, correct? That's where the assessment was, or was it billed separately? Ron?
The usage bill will come from the Suffolk County Water Authority on a quarterly basis.
Right, so that doesn't become a lien on the property if they don't pay. That's a matter between them and the Suffolk County Water Authority.
Correct.
Right, but if the assessment, the $2,500, that's on the tax bill?
That'll be already on the tax bill, so it's already a lien.
Right, but if it, right, so it becomes a lien once the tax bill is issued.
Right, correct.
Yep. Okay, good. Another good question was the 2 wells that will be abandoned, will they be available to the owners for gardening and car washing and other non-personal use? I guess Jason would answer that.
I think when we initially had the discussions with the town, we had talked about the future of the water supply wells over there. I mean, they could be considered a conduit for contamination to get down into the aquifer, the same aquifer that's likely to be tapped for the new public water supply wells. So that would be a potential concern. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation would really take the lead, and they would be in the best position to answer that question. I believe they have.
So Jason,
Sure.
that would be state DEC would answer that?
Yes.
Okay, so I would ask our staff to make that inquiry so we could get that question answered as to whether or not those wells would be available for the gardening and car washing and other stuff.
That would be best.
Yep, okay, yeah, so Joe G, if we could make that a point, we can ask state DEC for that answer.
I will reach out.
Great. And so the I guess the final question is, or no, I have, actually, I'm getting a couple of questions on the chat here. And Tom Jones asked, and this is a question I'm going to ask also, Tom, so you're right on. Why is it just a flat no with the variance request to build the additional private wells? I guess that's I'd like to look at the code that Jason is going to send to us. So I don't have an answer for you about that, but we're going to request an answer as to why it would be a flat no to just go with everyone jumps off these wells, builds other wells, and requests the variance through the Board of Review, which is a review board in the Suffolk County Department of Health, how they review their decisions there. Grandfathering in because the wells have been there for 100 years. I think they've answered that question in terms of what they've been doing. Who and when came up with the number on the private wells versus public? 5, why not 25? So Jason, do you want to, are you aware of the rationale of why the Suffolk County Health Department determined that 5 or more defines a public water system?
That would be before my time, and that would be from the New York State Sanitary Code. The New York State Sanitary Code exercised their right to be more restrictive than the federal code, and they determined that the definition of a public water supply in New York State was one that had 5 service connections or serves 25 or more people at least 60 days out of the year. So that's a New York State Sanitary Code, and I do not know the history or reasoning behind why they were more restrictive at that time.
Okay, maybe Joe G, just make a note and we can check with New York State on that question. With respect to the flood zone, how high will the water pumps in the current design be above the water line? That's a good question. So I think, Joe G, you mentioned that this was being designed in conformance with future Sandys, if you want to call it that. So do you know the answer to that?
I will know it in 3 minutes. I'm pulling the map up right now.
Okay.
I don't know it offhand.
All right, I'll ask a couple of other questions. Please review what our lease money goes into addition taxes. Several people, yep. So I was saving that for last. So my question to staff is the current lease payments. So I think somebody mentioned, and I don't know if this is a flat payment of $4,000 per year. Ron, do you know?
I think we're at 3,600 currently.
3,600. Okay, so what I'd like to, and I think the board would agree with me, is I'd like to know exactly where that revenue is logged in the budget. Does it go into the general fund or is it into a part-town fund?
It goes to lease trust currently, and starting next year, it'll be going into general.
So that's 2022?
2022, yes, correct.
Okay. And so they've already been charged their assessment for this year, which was as Joe explained, for the past 3 years of expenses that we incurred, right?
Yes.
Yeah, the assessment that they paid on this tax bill covered the 3 years of when we took over the system,
Correct.
right? So we're covered through this year. We haven't awarded any bid yet, but once we award a bid, then next year there will be an assessment, correct, of 2,500. So if the lease, I'm sorry, Joe?
Well, right now we're just doing sampling. So depending on when we break ground and
Well, no, you can't, you're only gonna, so if we go forward with this, we're gonna go out to market, borrow money to pay for it, and then we're gonna have payments coming in from the residents. The residents are only gonna pay 2,500 a year, right?
Correct.
So if they pay right now, if Ron says they pay 3,600 a year, Ron?
No, but that's for ground rent. Has nothing to do with the water.
No, no. But the question is, what is the lease payment used for? Right? So the lease payment comes in, they're leasing the property from us to have a house on it, right?
Yeah, correct.
So we have a lease with them. We're the owner or the landlord, and they're the tenant, right?
Yep.
Like you.
Like me.
Right. So you pay 3,600 a year, but if they're paying 3,600 a year, we can potentially look at that. Or someone's saying that the lease is 4,000 this year, was a $400 increase from last year in addition to the assessment on the tax bill. So right, so the lease went up from what you said, 3,600, right? What does Karen do your bills? You don't do your bills? So it went up to 4,000. So 4,000 is their lease payment. So I would like to look at the option of what do we do with the lease payment in line with looking at this payment of what the assessment is as a potential way of lowering that even more. So I think the board would want to explore that as well. I see a couple of the members shaking their heads. So I'd like to look at that as well, because that's a valid question asked by a couple of the people brought it up in their questioning. Sound good?
Yes.
All right. So what I'm going to do, no, Tom Jones, you asked your question. Yep. And you said, thank you. Okay. Got it. So what I'm going to do is close this. And what I would tell all of the viewers who are watching is that we're going to get back in touch with you. I would say, what do we need? The next week and a half to just pull all this together?
Yeah, we should.
Right. Oh, we had a couple of hands go up. So we have Tom Newman. He raised his hand. And Joe's going to give us the answer on the water pumps. Joe, did you come up with that?
Yeah, it's in a flood zone AE7. So the minimum height's going to be 9 feet, NAVD 88. Now that's a datum from an imaginary point offshore. So I'm not sure if they're asking for how it's going to be at minimum elevation 9.
Okay, elevation 9. Yeah, the question was, with respect to the flood zone, how high will the water pumps in the current design be above the water line?
Yeah, see, the number isn't related to the elevation of the water. It's related to the datum that I'm providing. So it's just like if they raise their house, they don't raise it to a point above the water line. They raise it to the datum that we provided. So it's going to be 9 feet, NAVD 88. So it'll be exceeding plus 2 feet of the flood code standard.
Okay, so that will it. Okay, thank you.
Supervisor?
Wait, let me, Dwayne, I just got 2 other hands raised, so let me
Sure.
go to that. So Kev, you want to add in Thomas Newman?
Yep, I'll add in Thomas Newman now.
Yep. Tom Newman?
Hello, Supervisor Schaefer.
Yes, Tom.
So apparently my solution is viable. to take the money that we pay for our leases and invest it in Oak Beach. The money has never been, none of this lease money has ever been invested in Oak Beach. We have a need now, and this money would take care of that need and wouldn't provide a financial hardship for everybody.
So that's what,
Legitimate.
so Tom, that was the last point I just made. So we're going to, I'm having the staff look into that.
Yeah, and I hear, and the lease fee this year was $4,000. I wrote the check.
Yeah, Ronnie just doesn't do his own bills, so he's
No,
not.
I pay through an
He
association.
hasn't folded yet.
Oh, Ronnie,
I pay
Ronnie-
through a homeowners association, so I don't see the bill.
okay, so you don't know.
I don't know.
Got it.
This would take care of the problem. It's found money.
Yep, so that's what we're gonna look into.
And I'm very appreciative, and I don't want to move.
And we don't want you to move either.
I'm moving on your block.
Come on, there's a house for sale right now. Let's go.
I can't afford it.
Yeah, it's a fixer-upper, so I'll help you.
Good to have a good neighbor.
Yes, you got it, Tom, always.
Okay, thank you, Supervisor, and please give this some thought.
Yep, that's what we're doing today.
Okay, thank you, sir.
And let me ask Molly, Kev. Molly Fitzgerald had her hand raised.
Adding now.
Hey, Molly?
Okay. I'm trying to unmute.
There you go, you're unmuted.
Okay, good. Just a clarification. Now, there's been talk about, maintenance fees and the high cost of maintenance of this facility. So am I correct then in saying that the usage bill we get from Suffolk County Water Authority will include any maintenance that is on this system, and that there would be nothing extra that we are being charged for?
Yes, you would pay your water bill under the fees that they charge everybody.
Okay. And also now, are there any other costs included in that we'd have to pay for this system, such as hooking up the system to our individual homes?
That's a good question. So that, I guess, would be Joe P.
Yes, so there is an additional cost, and that's the cost of you running your service line from the meter outside to your home. And you would get a private plumber to do that. That's not something that we do or the town does. That's the homeowner's responsibility.
And do you have any idea as to how much that would be?
It's a function of the length. Some of these houses are pretty close to, I think, where the water mains are, right, Joe? I don't think we're 75-foot typical, something like that.
It depends because it's in some places they're 3 deep.
Yeah,
So the people further from the road, it's going to be more money.
yeah.
What would you think?
Debated including that in the project, but we always, when we have to build something, we feel like the homeowners could probably get a better price, especially if maybe a couple got together and, got a few estimates and, the guy could do 10 houses. You're probably going to save a lot more money than if we had to do it.
Right. We all pay prevailing wage for all the work that we do, and that greatly increases the cost.
Okay, and Joe, thank you. I know we've talked over the years too. We appreciate your help and your communication with us. And one last item too, everybody is aware that there's a lease transfer fee when homes are sold, and that's a nice, piece of income to the town. And perhaps they could review those fees that they get as well as an additional source to help us out in this project.
Sure, that's a good point too, Molly. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, and I see Tom Jones, he had asked the question in the chat, but Kev, you want to just see if he has another question because he's got his hand raised?
Yep, adding him now.
Tom, you on? Hey, Tom, you on?
Yes.
Hey, Tom, did you have any other questions beside what you put in the chat?
No, I think that just about covers everything.
Okay, and thank you for your input.
But again, you know what? I just wanted to say at the beginning, this really isn't a water problem. because the water's not, but nobody's getting sick down here. Okay, I'm getting the thing from my wife.
I
Okay,
heard,
guys.
I heard your boss is giving you a hard time there.
Yes, but I appreciate it, guys, and
I'm trying. I'm
yeah,
trying.
What's your wife's first name?
Lorraine.
Lorraine, we love you, Lorraine.
Thank you.
Okay, guys.
Thank you, Tom.
You guys stay well, okay?
You too. Okay. All right. So what, and then just the final question is, will we get the responses posted? Yes, I'm going to ask for, we have our stenographer who's taking verbatim minutes of this. And when we get the minutes transcribed, we'll have that sent to everybody as well. So you'll be able to review it word for word as to the topics that we discussed today. And then, like I said, what we're going to do is close this public hearing. We're not going to take any action today, but I'm going to ask our staff over the next week to get answers to the couple of questions that we didn't have answers to. And then we'll come back to all of you, not just the people who are on the call today, but each property owner that's affected, because there are some property owners that are not, not on the Zoom video today. So we'll get back to them. So we appreciate you checking in here, giving us your questions and your comments and issues to research further. And like I said, we'll be back to you shortly on that. I'm sorry. I think Councilman Gregory, did you have a point that you wanted to make?
Yes, but I think Councilman Manette has been waiting, so I'll defer to him.
Okay.
I just have a quick question. On the latest proposal that's been put forward, I've seen it being worked on, but in the latest proposal, the $2,500 that per homeowner is, how many years is that? Or is that a one time, or what's in the latest proposal?
30. That's 30.
Okay.
That's for 30. That would run with the property for 30 years.
Is that correlated to the bond, or?
That's to the, if you look at the info sheet, it was the balance of what was left after we got the grant and after the town bonded for 7 million. So the grant was 1.8, the bond was 7. And so out of the 7 million, the residents are paying 4 point, maybe Dan, you could throw back up the sheet.
It's 4.2 million. It's essentially the cost of financing the debt. We're paying the 7.
We're paying, right, okay, yep. So the cost of finance, so the residents are picking up the debt service, which is 4.2 over 30 years, and that's 2,500 a home for the 56 homes. That could go down based on the additional 22 homes that are eligible, or that could enter into the system. We pay the balance, the principal will be coming out of the town's capital fund, and the EFC is paying the 1.8. Yeah, so to answer your question, the 2,500 is over 30 years and it runs with the property.
Gotcha. Thanks.
Okay, Dwayne, did you have?
Yeah, my question was just, is there a timeline as to when we're, that we're kind of under like a?
Yeah, I mean,
health department?
Jason's been great working with us, as he said. And we appreciate his input and cooperation. Yeah, I mean, we're under a short timeline here. So that's why I said within the next week, we'll get these other questions answered. Our next board meeting is the 28th.
Yes.
April 28th.
Yes.
Yeah, so I'd like to get these answered in the next week, get the information out to everybody. We may even want to just put together a Zoom with residents before the town board meeting to see what we've come up with and see if there's any additional information that's made this more palatable. So we're going to be busy the next week or so, but we'll keep you all informed. Sound good? All right. Oh, Jim Shepard has his hand raised. You caught it right under the gun, Jim. Can you add him in, Kev?
Yep, joining now.
Thanks. Hey, Jim. Hey, Jim.
Hi, thank you so much, guys. I know it's late. I'll be quick.
That's okay.
Thank you. Joe Guarino, you mentioned that the location for the system was chosen because of its space. I would just like to propose that Oak Beach Park is also a very large space. It happens to be located right at the beginning of the road. So I'm certainly not looking for an answer now, but perhaps it would be the northwest corner of Oak Beach Park. It's a big empty dirt space. And I just wonder if that might be a way to keep the system off of this beautiful life-saving station we have here. And again, thank you everybody for your time today.
Yep, and that's a good suggestion, Jim. I'd like to know the answer to that too.
I will note that that's county-owned, the park.
Yep, but I'm sure our legislator, if we wanted to, could get us help with putting that there. So we'll reach out to Kevin and ask his staff to help us get an answer to that question. And I saw Katie. Kev, do you see that? Katie had a
Heading her now.
hand up. Yep.
Thank you very much for all answers to most of the questions here. My question, I don't know if anybody asked this one, is any option, let's say, that out of these 56 homes, myself and let's say my 3 other neighbors decides to not participate and get the town water, but we have our own well? Is that an option on the table? Because it's cheaper for us not to participate, but dig our own well.
So that was the question that we had asked early on. I think I forgot who asked that originally, but the health department said that there's a code that doesn't allow for homeowners to disconnect from a public system and then build a well, and you can always apply for a variance through their board of review. We've asked to see those codes because I thought that was a pretty good question as well. That would solve everything. No offense. I'd rather not have us build this and be involved in this, because when you build something like this, there's always issues and problems and questions. And so if you're all right with it and you say you're going to do 4 people on a well, because I assume you all pretty much get along. I haven't heard any outbreaks of war.
I'm next to Tom and Lorraine, so.
Oh, all right. So yeah, I haven't heard of any outbreaks of war down there. So I think that right, that was like the biggest question I had as to why we can't just do that. So we're gonna explore that over the next week, and
because it's cheaper for everyone. It's cheaper for the town.
Oh yeah. Listen, I'd rather be using the capital money that we are going to use for this on other things. Yes, we'll get the final answer once Jason's going to send us the information.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. All right. So I'm going to I'll make a motion to close and reserve on this. Second by Councilman Martinez. All those in favor? Opposed? All right. Hearing is closed and decision reserved. So that's it for the public hearings. Steph, do we have any speakers on the agenda?
No, we do not.
We do not. Okay, so we'll go right into the agenda. Resolution 236.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 237.
I offer resolution 237.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. I'm going to make a motion that we table 238 to April 28th. Second by Councilman Martinez. All those in favor? Opposed? Okay, that resolution's tabled to April 28th. Resolution 239.
I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Second by Councilman Martinez. Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes.
Supervisor Schaefer.
And I'll abstain. Resolution's approved. 3 votes in favor, 1 abstention, 1 absent. Resolution 240.
I offer resolution 240.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution's approved. Resolution 241.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 242.
I offer resolution 242.
Okay, second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 243.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 244.
I offer resolution 244.
Okay, second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 245.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 246.
I offer resolution 246.
Okay, second.
Favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 247.
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 248.
I move resolution 248.
Okay, second.
Favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 249.
I move resolution 249.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 250.
I offer resolution 250.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 251.
I move resolution 251.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 252.
I offer 252.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 253.
I offer resolution 253.
I second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 254.
I offer 254.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 255.
I offer resolution 255.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 256.
I move resolution 256.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 257.
I offer resolution 257.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 258.
I offer 258.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 259.
I offer resolution 259.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 260.
I offer resolution 260.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 261.
I offer resolution 261.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 262.
I offer resolution 262.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes.
Supervisor Schaefer.
Abstain. Resolution is approved. 3 votes in favor, 1 abstention, 1 absent. Resolution 263.
I offer resolution 263.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 264.
I offer 264.
Second.
All those in favor? Opposed? Resolution is approved. Resolution 265.
I offer resolution 265.
I second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes.
Supervisor Schaefer.
Yes. Resolution's approved. 4 votes in favor, 1 absent, and resolution 266.
And I move resolution 266.
Second.
Would the clerk call the roll?
Councilman Mineta,
Yes.
Councilman Martinez,
Yes.
Councilman Gregory,
Yes.
Supervisor Schaefer.
Yes, resolution's approved. 4 votes in favor, 1 opposed. That's it for the resolutions. Now we'll go to the open portion, excuse me, into the cards.
First person I have is Edward Grimes. Joining now.
Great. Great. Mr. Grimes?
There we go. Okay.
Hey, Mr. Grimes, just state your name and address for the record.
My name is Edward Lefty Grimes. I'm with sativacross.org. We're a 501c3 here advocating for disabled and for cannabis patients. I'm at 213 Avenue B, Bayonne. An out-of-towner. But the message I have to tell you is very important. I'm a medical cannabis patient, and I know you guys are considering making some changes. And I would ask you to consider the sick and the dying of your town. There's people in wheelchairs that it's very difficult for them to get their medicine. If I've been to hundreds of council meetings, and I asked a lot of people to spend a day in a wheelchair. Nobody's taken me up on that yet. But if you spend one day in a wheelchair, you see how bad it is with wheelchair access, and with even just getting a ride somewhere. Taking an Uber incurs another cost to a patient trying to get their medicine out of town. We need your help. We're getting hit from all sides. Our medicine's being taxed. Nobody else's medicine is being taxed. They're not taxing insulin. They're not taxing any other medicines that people need. But medical cannabis, it's not taxed. It's not covered by insurance. I mean, it's taxed. It's not covered by insurance. And we're getting hit with corporate cannabis selling us moldy medicine now. This is what's happening. This is not how we treat the sick and the dying. We should be putting the last first. And now with recreational, the patients are being pushed further back in line. People in wheelchairs, when they get to the front of that line, that's huge now. They're not going to have the strains that they need. They're not going to have the amounts that they need, and it's overpriced. 2/3 of all bankruptcies are caused from medical debt. And we really don't have money. People on disability don't have money. They just don't. I see it all the time. I advocate for people that are in bed right now, sick, maybe throwing up, people with PTSD, maybe with a gun in their mouth, people that are, I've heard every horrible story you can think of for people suffering using cannabis. I've heard it, and I'm still hearing more. I can't believe the stories I hear, people suffering. I lost a lot of friends last year. I lost family last year. And it makes you, think what you're here on this world for. I mean, we're passing through this earth, and what are we here for? To help people, to help each other. I'm disabled. I was on opiates for 10 years. And by the way, you're not banning synthetic marijuana, but you're banning God's medicine. The synthetic stuff that man makes, that's okay. That's family friendly, but God's medicine is stigmatized. And I don't understand that, especially for sick and dying people that really need it. We need your help. And I would ask that you consider separating the issue between medical and recreational. In New Jersey, it's a felony for a parent to grow cannabis for their child with epilepsy, or for a cancer patient to grow weed. They're going to catch a felony. And in New York, you can grow it for fun, for kicks, right over the border. There needs to be some kind of standardization here across the board. We just ask for your help.
Great. No, thank you for your comments. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay. Our next speaker, Kev.
Heading now.
Okay. Who is this, Mr.?
Skyver, 427 Greenwich Avenue, Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Okay. Could you just repeat that? I couldn't hear you.
Jamie Van Skyver, 427 Greenwich Avenue, Paulsboro, New Jersey.
Great. Thank you. Good afternoon.
I also am with Statue Lacrosse, and I'm a medical patient in the state of New Jersey. I also would like to encourage you to please separate medical needs and recreational uses. When you kind of compile them together, it really does just add to the stigma. I personally have immune illness, systemic lupus. My immune system attacks my soft tissue, my organs, muscles, tendons, ligaments, skin, pretty much everything that's not bone. I was having to take infusions, immune suppressants, anti-malarials. It wasn't a good time. My body wasn't responding well. When I was able to start the cannabis program, my system turned around immediately. And I'm only here to talk about medical, and I'm only so passionate about it because lab work doesn't lie. My immune system's healing. We have an endocannabinoid system in our body, and it's meant to work with the cannabis plant. My rheumatologist is ecstatic with what I've been doing, and she's asking me questions. She wants to help as many people with inflammatory illnesses as well. It is incredibly stigmatized. A lot of people can get narcotics delivered right to their doors, and I could as well. It's easy. It would be free, and I wouldn't have to Uber anywhere. people are killing themselves. I don't know if anybody's familiar with antidepressants, specifically SSRIs. They increase desire for suicide and thoughts. Like, we have veterans killing themselves at a rate of 25 per day. We're really failing a lot of people.
No, we appreciate your input.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, do you have any other speakers, Kev?
No, that's it.
Okay, so I'll take a motion to adjourn from Councilman Mineta, second by Councilman Gregory. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting is adjourned.
Yeah, you're holding up, Anthony.
Hey, Dan, can